Let's talk about the talk.
Where's that? Yeah, come here. Hear me now. Me.
All right, so we all know what happened, the interview with Meghan and Harry, and it caused a whirlwind of everybody talking about it and chatting about it. And we see that as a result, Piers Morgan and his whatever the heck it is he has, he went on rants. His issue is that, he's a royalist, so his issue is that Meghan is putting down or calling the Queen a racist indirectly, because she never called her that directly. If anything, she said she was a nice woman, very nice to her. Pierce's problem, that's not even the point of this. Whatever. I could go off on that, but I think everybody has said what they had to say. I want to talk about Sharon Osbourne. So the reason for this, we know Sharon Osbourne came out in support of, she's from Great Britain, friends with Piers Morgan. So she sent out a tweet supporting Piers Morgan and his freedom of speech. Since whatever discussion happened on the talk, she had an interview afterwards on ET and talked about what had transpired. So she said she was blindsided. Let's take a step back, shall we? Apparently, something happened months ago. I think they said back in February, a question came up to Elaine from another host that was not there that March 11th. And it was asked, and it came from the producers, totally blindsided. The question was this: if black people can use the N-word, why can't white people? That's basically the question. I don't know what her answer was, but she ended up in tears, and the other hosts, ended up, few people were in tears. Sharon Osbourne recognized that was racist, but this was not during the show. She said this during the interview, and she said that from then they made a pact that they would not blindside each other with questions like that of race on air like that. Fast forward. So the question that I believe she felt blindsided about was from Sheryl Underwood. And apparently this question came from the producers. She didn't know about it. This is what she says. I got my notes. So Sheryl asked the question, and I believe this is a question she felt blindsided on. And before that, before asking the question, Sheryl Underwood actually said that I haven't seen you racist, you've been a friend, this, that, and you're nice, all this stuff, like saying that, validating that she doesn't see her as racist, and just saying, from the outside, from the inside, this is what I see. From the outside, now that people don't know you, this is what they might see. So this is where how the question's coming up. She basically said, what would you say to people on the outside who may feel, while you're standing up by your friend, it may look like a safe haven or validation to something he's uttered that is racist? How would you answer that one if people were to see that? This woman got so defensive. Sharon Osbourne got so defensive. Then Elaine Welteroth said, she's like, I've never seen you racist. I do not believe that you're racist. While she's saying that to her, Sharon Osbourne's demeanor, she's not even looking at her. She just has this attitude, like she's all defensive. Like right then and there, you can't even talk to her. Her defenses are are up. They're out. The wall is up and her defenses are out. And it's like, you ain't getting through. So you already don't know where this is going. Elaine Welteroth said to her that I haven't seen you as racist. You're not racist. I don't call you racist. She said, but people, if they know you're not racist, then they are expecting you to speak up to your friend about certain things that he says that are deemed racist. After that, Sharon then says, I feel I'm about to put in the electric chair. She starts going off getting defensive instead of answering the question and using these two things. This is what you should be using our ears, them. Listen. Because they gave you an out. They're telling you, I don't see you as racist. Suppose people, looking outside, coming in, they're going to think that this is your chance to have a conversation. No, the woman was defensive. And she really didn't have to be. Anyways, she starts saying, at 68, how can I be racist? At anybody or anything in my life. How can I be racist? How? And she turned to Sheryl Underwood. Sheryl Underwood said, well, and she was about to say, well, we have to go, we're going to a break, and said, well, what? Yelling, well, what? Yelling, and carrying on, and then you could hear the bleep, like you hear it go blank, and she basically was swearing, F-bombs and all that stuff. All right, they come back. She's like, Sheryl, I've been asking you this question all through the break. I've been asking you, and you can't tell me, What did he say that was racist? What remarks did he make that were, educate me. From when I saw Sharon Osbourne saying, educate me, I want to know, educate. No, you don't. In this state of mind, at this moment, no. Let me tell y'all, never, ever explain anything to anybody when they're being defensive and argumentative. It is not penetrating. It's not. She wasn't hearing anything. They gave her an out. It didn't even have to escalate to that. She started to attack Sheryl. She attacked Sheryl. Well, what? And Cheryl's saying, well, let's go to while she's talking, whatever F-bomb she said, it wasn't warranted. It was not. Then when they come back and she's saying whatever she's saying, Sheryl explained and said, I know you're not racist. You haven't done that to me, blah, blah, blah. My girl now, Sharon Osbourne, says, you know what? And I'm going to say, she's like, and don't you dare cry. If anybody should be crying, it should be me. Ladies and gentlemen, I really don't know how Sheryl Underwood kept her mouth shut. It must have been the hand of God. The hand of God going like this. Okay? Because let me tell you, I would have put Miss Sharon Osbourne in her place. I wouldn't be cussing because I don't need to swear to put you in your place. Because first of all, racism. You know what? At the end of this video, I'm going to put the perfect definition of racism. I'm going to have it typed out so that you can read it. The perfect definition of racism. So everybody can read it and understand it. Because racism is conscious and it's subconscious. You can be consciously suppressed and oppressed and subconsciously oppressed and suppressed. You don't even realize it. We live in a racist world. So hello, white people walk this earth. Racist, yes, you do. It's not for you to be defensive. It's for you to hear what somebody is saying. When people are coming to you with an open to have a conversation, they're not yelling at you or anything like that, use that as an opportunity to hear what the person of color has to say. Sharon Osbourne was not open to that. They gave her an out. They gave her an out and said, look, we know you're not racist, but people on the outside looking in and know that the things that Pierce is saying and the things that he's not saying and the ways he's going about it looks racist, and he's totally negating Megan's feelings of racism. You can't do that. You cannot do that. And Sharon was not defending that. So of course it's going to look a certain way. So therefore, yes, she does need to explain herself. Why? Not because of the host on the show, not because of black people, but because of the future of her job, the future of her life on the show. I don't know, because if she continues that way, she's going to end up like Pierce. Where Pierce, they know, what happened to him? That's what's going to happen. So, message to white people. Let me tell you something. You don't have to always be defensive. And guess what? What you're feeling a little bit. Just a little. You see that? Can you see it? No, you can barely see it. That's how we feel all the time. Yes. And sometimes it's not so obvious. Sometimes it's so subtle, as Sheryl Underwood had eloquently said. I have to give her kudos and big ups, man. She handled herself so gracefully in that, because she was being attacked. Sharon was not being attacked, she was given an out. But Sheryl had said that racism it's not like blatant out there. It happens in ways of negating the fact that racism is there, ignoring racism. It's so easy for you to ignore. It's so easy for you to dismiss when someone feels they're being racialized or somebody's being racist towards. No, you can't. You don't have say on that. No, you don't. No, you don't. As a white person, you can't say you're not racist. You can't speak for somebody else. Sharon was saying, Pierce is not racist. You can't say that, my dear. You cannot say that, Sharon Osbourne. You can't say that. Because you're not with him all the time. You don't know that. You don't know you don't even know what racism is. How about that? How about that? You can't sit there and say, I'm not racist. How can I be racist to anybody or anything? No. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with those ladies. I would not say that she's not racist. Because guess what? Things are coming out now that she's made certain statements about Julie Chen. What she said about Holly Pete. Oh my goodness. Robinson Pete. What she said about her being ghetto and Julie Chen about her slanted eyes and wonton and all these things. And that wasn't Julie Chen coming out. That was somebody else coming out to say it. So these things are coming out now. You can freely say and make fun of other ethnicities, people of color and their backgrounds and whatever. No, now's the time that we're calling y'all out on your BS, and we're letting y'all know. You can't sit there and say, educate me, educate me. No, we're not educating you like you're throwing a tantrum like a 2-year-old. No, let's talk like adults. You hear what we're saying and try to understand, because it's a lived experience for all of us, not you. So you need to sit and keep your mouth shut like you're the student and listen and let the teachers teach you and speak, those who are called to teach. And I believe Sheryl Underwood was one of them, to teach and speak and help you to understand. Even Elaine, she could have, also given some, she was trying to teach something, but no, it's your defenses. It's defenses like that with white people. There are a lot of white people who can sit down and listen and say, interesting. So what if this, what if that? No, when you're yelling like Pierce Morgan, when you're trying to get a point across, you're being sarcastic with your question. You're not wanting to know. Oh, can't somebody just be genuinely asking? They want to know what's going to be the color of your baby. No, cut the crap. Nobody goes around and says that. They're like, I wonder what the chances are of your child having red hair. Why didn't they ask that? Because look at Harry's hair. He's ginger. Where'd that come from? So why not say that? No, we're talking about the skin color. I'm sorry. The reason why it's coming up is because of the reason why it's coming up. Let's be real about this conversation. Sharon Osbourne, you've got a lot to learn about racism. A lot. You've apologized. Your apology is wishy-washy. Really is. You're apologizing to people who you offended. How about you just apologize across the board? You talked about being blindsided. Okay, the question, you weren't prepared for the question. The question wasn't all that bad because Sharon Sheryl had given you a preamp. Like she was giving a little, leeway and little grace towards you. So you weren't, it wasn't anything to be afraid of. Enter the conversation, You could have easily answered and said, there's two sides to this. I am supporting Pierce on his freedom of speech. However, you know what? I could understand why some parts could seem racist. I don't totally get it, but I could maybe see why. Let me listen to what you guys are saying. I do support freedom of speech. And that's it. You didn't have to take it on personally. You didn't have to. You could have answered it so many different ways. But I just find it odd when I see white people jump and, get all whatever. You can't handle a little oppression. You can't handle a little opposition. You can't handle when you're in the minority. You can't handle it. You can't handle it when you're in the minority, eh? You're realizing now that you're in the minority. You can't handle it. All I can say is, get used to it, baby. Get used to it. Look for the definition of racism right after this. Deuces.